Good evening, afternoon, morning. Hello, testing 1 2 1 2. This is Michael Essick. It is 3 p.m. UK time. It is time for an hour of t-shirt redesigning and ideas discussing and stuff like that. Who have we got here? Fisnick was first. These sessions are always fun. Cool. Hopefully today will be too. Fanny said, I am always working during these sessions. Oh, that's a shame. You can always watch the replay though, right? Kathleen says, Michael always sparks ideas. Ray is here. Hi, Michael and all. Amira is here. Scott is here from sunniest of Spains. There's only one Spain though, of course, and it's always sunny there. Grey Elephant Club from Cleveland, Ohio. Very nice. Mike from sunny Texas. Sheila is here from Ontario. Cool. Thank you for joining us, Sheila, Mike, Grey Elephant Club. Lovely to have you here. Let me know in the comments where you are watching from. That would be great. Hopefully sound issues are a bit better than last week. Seems like my microphone was not being utilized properly last week. And so the sound was pretty bad. Nobody told me. I didn't know. I went through the whole hour without knowing. So if the sound goes bad, please do let me know, but it should be better here. Scott says there are many Spains. Andalusia is the sunniest one. Teddy says, good morning from Texas. Hello to you. Thank you for joining us. Today we are going to do a t-shirt redesign session, which is to say, some of you have been kind enough to send in ideas. I'm going to talk about those ideas, give you some pointers, and I've got my iPad so we can do some sketching and kind of work through some visual concepts together as well, to help you with those ideas that you've sent in. So thank you to everyone who did send ideas in. Kathleen from NYC is here. Lance from Florida can hear fine. Amira is watching from Georgia. And Scott didn't notice anything wrong last time. It was really a lot worse. It was taking the sound from my computer rather than from this very nice microphone that I have. So that was a shame. Anyway, it's all sorted now. So we are good to go. Let's just go through a few things before we get started. Do like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube or you're watching on Facebook or wherever. If there's a like button, if there's a subscribe button, go ahead and hit that thing. You know it's good for what ails you. It's good for the algorithm into which we are all subject. So yeah, if you can hit the like and subscribe button, that would be great. Stan is here from South Africa, and Betty is here too. Cool. So yeah, ask questions as we go through. This is your opportunity. We're here for about an hour. If you've got a question about something, could be something I'm talking about, could be print on demand, could be t-shirt design, could be Procreate, could be anything like that. Go ahead and ask. This is your opportunity to ask questions live. I'll leave some time at the end as well, but if you want to just ask your questions as we go, that's fine. I will keep checking back on the comments section. Join my mailing list if you want the latest from me, if you want to be kept up to date on what's happening with print on demand or what's happening with t-shirt design, things you should know about, then at michaelessick.com/live. The link is there, or at least the URL is there. Go and sign up. You'll get instant access to some really good resources as well to help you come up with better ideas, and also to help you with your actual designs as well. Andy is here from Suffolk. Very nice. Thank you for joining us, Andy. Ian is here. Looking forward to your video. Cool. Well, we're already in the video, I guess. Jennifer's here from LA. Cool. Nice to have you, Jennifer. Join my mailing list. And is this for you? Well, if you're a t-shirt designer, if you sell on Redbubble or Merch by Amazon or TeePublic, or you're trying to sell on TeeFury or Threadless, maybe you even want to start something more like an art licensing brand and get your work featured and sold in physical brick and mortar stores around the country or whatever country you're in. These are some of the places I sell in. Redbubble is one of my biggest. Merch by Amazon, probably the biggest in terms of income. But I also have t-shirts in Hot Topic and Spencer's, and one of my local stores has recently started stocking some greetings cards that I designed. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, if you want to make money from your art, if you want to sell your art and license your designs on various different platforms, online and off, then this will probably be interesting for you. So whether you're selling on organic print on demand, on Etsy, on Amazon, your own Shopify store, or even selling via Instagram or something like that, or you're trying to build more of an out licensing brand so you can really tap into multiple channels and stuff like that, then this is for you. This session is going to be about ideas and about improving ideas and coming up with better, stronger ideas and stronger designs. So yeah, that's what we're going to cover today. Okay, so before we dive into the first design, we do have a few designs which I'm going to talk about today. But let's see who else is here. Bo is here. Hello to you, Bo. He made it. Stephen is here from Toronto. David from South Carolina. TQ. Hi, Michael. Hope you're doing well, says TQ. How do you drive traffic to your items on Amazon and Redbubble? Great question. I do not drive traffic to my items on either Amazon or Redbubble. Those platforms are organic driven, especially for me. I know you can do ads on Amazon. I personally don't. So I rely on people going to Amazon, going to Redbubble, or the other big piece of the puzzle here is going to Google and searching for something related to a design that I've created. So if I've created a funny dinosaur design, maybe they go on Redbubble and search funny T-Rex t-shirt or something like that, or funny Triceratops something or other. And they will land on, on Amazon or Redbubble. They'll see results. They'll scroll through. They'll see my design. They'll think it's funny. They'll add it to the cart and they'll buy it. That's the basic process. I don't drive traffic on those platforms. I do drive traffic to my own Shopify store. I do that via Instagram. I do that sometimes utilizing things like sponsored posts with Instagram influencers or influential accounts or things like that. But for Amazon and for Redbubble, it's purely organic. Same for Etsy. I don't send traffic there myself. If I have traffic that I want to send somewhere, I'm going to send it to my store usually, rather than to Redbubble or Amazon or something like that. I want to send it somewhere where I can make the most profit from the sale, also where I can add them, to a mailing list, or at least get some more relationship with them. I could track them with a Facebook pixel, so I could retarget them. Basically, if you've got your own traffic or you're driving traffic, you want to maximize that traffic and get the most out of it. And you don't do that if you're sending people to Amazon or Redbubble or something. Now, there could be situations where you might want to drive traffic to Amazon because you want to get you want to increase your rankings on Amazon and kind of rise up the rankings. So that could be a strategy, but that's not something I do, and certainly not often. Marion from Ecuador is here. Julian says, nice shirt. Thank you, Julian. See you there. A couple of robots. Get up, kids. Teddy says, cool tee you are wearing. Thank you, Teddy. Hamed, how can become t-shirt designer from scratch? Design a t-shirt would be too simple an answer, wouldn't it? But how do you become a t-shirt designer from scratch? I don't know. How do you do anything from scratch? You learn all you can and you start doing. It's impossible to learn how to plow by reading books. So you're going to have to start designing some t-shirts, putting them out there, and start getting some experience and seeing what works and what doesn't. Andy says, how do you know what products your country's fulfillment sites product/print? How do you know what products your country's fulfillment sites product? I'm guessing the question is, how do you know what countries you're selling from? And Andy, if you can be more specific about a particular platform, or whether that's a Redbubble or a Merch or a Printful or something, I'm not really sure what you're getting at. But if you can be a bit more specific and rephrase the question, I'll take another swing at it. TQ says, thanks for being so specific. No problem. You're welcome. Kev is here from Nottingham. Swearworks is here from Scottsdale. Code Whisperer is here from Texas. Wonderful. Okay. Let's get into a couple of these design ideas. So yesterday I sent out an email saying if you've got a concept, if you've got an idea that you'd like to share, you'd like some feedback on, or that I could redesign and improve for you, then please send it in. And a few of you have done so, so we'll go through those. But we do have a couple of questions that have just come in, so let's get through these first. Bo, how many marketplaces do you feel a single person can logistically be on, for those of us that don't have the budget yet for staff? I don't know, Bo. I think that's a nearly impossible question to answer. Some people have a very free schedule where they can spend hours a day, uploading to places and doing stuff like that. So it really depends on you. I think you probably know, especially once you've done something for a few hours or a few days or a few months, what your capacity is to be able to do that consistently. I remember, middle of 2017 or 2016, working like a dog every day, uploading, designing, uploading, and being very consistent. I wouldn't say I was enjoying myself very much, but I was definitely putting in the hours. And was selling then on Etsy and Amazon and Redbubble and Shopify and TeePublic and stuff. So I think it's possible to cover several different platforms as one person if you've got the time to do so. But yeah, I guess maybe platforms is not the question. It's more how many designs are you going to be producing regularly and how can you keep on top of that? So yeah. Marian, I've been learning from your blog. Your content is my daily basic guide. Thanks for all your hard work. Thank you, Marian. Betty says, how do you price MBA shirts, high or low? I tend to price high. Usually I certainly very rarely go below a $19.99 or something like that. I would always like to keep things on the higher end. Maybe situations where you want to go a bit cheaper to try things out, or maybe, get the ball rolling on a design. But typically I price at the standard prices or a bit higher, and have never really struggled with that. Moody, hello from Northwest England. Hello to you. Been selling t-shirts for a couple of years. The issue is getting sales. Etsy is so. My website gets zero traffic. Any tips for marketing? It's a dark art I hardly understand. Yeah, marketing is the thing that once you turn that key, once you get it right, everything else becomes a lot easier. So marketing, I think it comes down to who you're targeting and getting in front of them, knowing who you're after, and then relevantly and usefully getting in front of those people. So my marketing, by which I mean stuff that I've done rather than just relying on organic channels, has been usually on Instagram. And it's usually been very relationship based, meaning I will DM an account and say, hey, I've got these t-shirts, so I've got these designs. Do you think your crowd would like them? Would you like to pick one or two? And how much would it be for a sponsored post? And I'd like to place an order for 5 sponsored posts over the next week or something. And just kind of very, hands-on, building a relationship with relevant accounts that are relevant to my thing. So if it was dinosaurs, I'd be reaching out to dinosaur accounts and saying, hey, would you promote this? How much for a sponsored post and stuff? So yeah, I think that would be my top tip, is just get in the weeds, get in the trenches, and talk to people who have the people that you're looking for. The people who can put out a post and get 1,000 people to see it. Those are the people you want to talk to. You can and you should be building up your own platform, whether that's on Instagram or an email list, but that is going to take a long time, and it's going to, you're going to have to do that consistently over a number of years before that really if you're starting from scratch, that's going to be hard. Whereas if you can go and borrow other people's audiences and advertise in front of them, then I think that's a much better idea. Okay, Bo says thanks. Andy says, sorry, on Redbubble, if listed as a UK seller. So Redbubble, Andy, they will print the product from wherever is nearest to the customer. So if the customer's in Australia, they'll print it in Australia. If the customer's in New York, they'll print it close to New York or whatever. So they have fulfillment centers everywhere around the world. And you don't have any control over that. Redbubble is not a platform as such. You are not selling on Redbubble. You are licensing your art to Redbubble, and they are the seller of record. They are the one doing the selling. So yeah, hope that helps. Gemstone, what is selling print-on-demand t-shirt price? So my prices, again, this depends on the platform and stuff like that. On my Shopify store, I'd be selling things for $25 to $30. Similar on Etsy. MBA stands for Merch by Amazon, Sheila. Merch by Amazon, their standard price point, I think, is still $19.99 for a standard t-shirt. But again, you can play around with that. Some platforms like TeePublic, you don't have any flexibility on pricing, so they set it at $19.99, except for when they're doing a sale where it drops to $14.99. So yeah, there's lots of variation in the space, but typically you're talking about around the $20 mark, give or take. Swearworks, at the start, putting in as many hours as possible helps you figure out what you can realistically get designed and uploaded each week or so. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And I think if you can, even if you can only block out a month or two and just say, for this month or two, I'm just going to go hammer and tongs at this thing. It's going to be my number one priority when I get home from work. When I wake up in the morning, I'm going to really go at it. If you can do that for, not just a day or two, but for an extended period, a month or two, then by the end of that month or two, at least you'll know, you'll have a lot more data, because most people are doing this an hour here, an hour there. So it takes a long time to get any information about what's popular, what isn't. Whereas if you can churn stuff out and really go at it for a month or two, at least, even if nothing really sells, at least you'll know at the end of those 2 months, okay, I did everything I could. I did it to the best of my ability, and I did it very hard. And it still didn't come up. At least it's not working. Something's not working. So hope that helps. Andrew, hi Michael. Do you change your strategy on Merch by Amazon after the latest tier update? No, I did not change my strategy at all. Okay, Marion, I'd love to read some content from you, a list of best sites or something like that for Latin, is that, or South American countries. It's hard to find places that work and pay in these countries. Yeah, I think unfortunately there are not such platforms that exist really. I mean, there may be, but certainly none that I would have any experience with. Lance, would love a deeper dive at some point on the topic of approaching influencers. Okay, thank you. I will make a note of that, and maybe we'll cover that in an upcoming session or something like that. Audrey, do you have any POD advice for selling on Etsy versus a marketplace site? One is a lot closer tied to your brand, and negative reviews are a concern. Do you keep the prices the same on both sites? POD sites versus Etsy. Yeah, Etsy, you can charge higher prices, and I would recommend you do so. When you're selling on a site like Redbubble or TeePublic or even Merch by Amazon, you're not the seller. You are licensing artwork to them, and I think it's good to have that mindset. So Redbubble, do you have a brand on there? Not really. You can have a little thumbnail. You can do a banner image. I think they let you link. You can put a link, but a buyer on Redbubble is going to have to dig to find out anything about the designer. It's not like obvious there. It's a bit more obvious. It's much more obvious on Etsy. So I wouldn't think of Redbubble in terms of brand building or anything like that. I would kind of think of them in terms of, you give them your art, they're going to do the best they can with it based on your keywords and stuff, and hopefully it sells. Whereas with Etsy, it's much more, you want to keep your customers sweet, you want to be replying to people quickly, you want to be on stuff like that, because that's going to help you get good reviews, which are going to help your store and your rankings and stuff. So yeah, they are completely different beasts in that sense. TQ says, for a future live, will you go more into the art licensing? Yes, that is a topic we're going to talk more about in the future. I actually have something I was going to talk about a little bit later, but yeah, we will be doing something more about that. Stay tuned, because there's something just before we end which I'll talk about in relation to that. Sheila, newbie advice: read and study other designs, focus on strong designs. We've earned through our mistakes. Now we're going back to basics with new designs. Cost us time and money getting there slowly. Yeah, there's a lot of truth there. I have found when you find something that works, you should keep doing it, whatever that thing is. Keep doing it until you are 100% sure that you've maxed it out as much as you can. And yeah, back to basics is good advice. I think I've fallen into that trap as well of going too far too fast, and sometimes you just need to, do more of what works and just keep on doing it. You can spend, you could spend a few years building up a decent royalty based business. It might not be the most exciting thing that you want to do. You might have plans in your head to do your own brand, or something more personal to you and more individual, but it's going to take you a while to get there. So that's why it does make sense to invest, kind of building your platform, getting some passive, as far as passive goes, some passive income in. Andy says, great, so will all the same products range in all fulfillment sites? Yeah, when it comes to products on Redbubble, they will, if they can't fulfill, they're available everywhere, because if they can't fulfill it locally, they'll ship it from America or something like that. So yeah, they're all available around the world. Ian, hi from Scotland, would love a beginner's guide to Shopify. Hear you talking about it, and I currently only use Redbubble and Amazon. Advice on where to begin, etc. Okay, another one for the future topics to tackle. Okay, thank you for that, Ian. Yeah, we'll see about it. Schroeder says passive income. Ha 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 ha. Yes, that's true. How passive is it? However, having said that, when you have designs that you created 6 years ago which are still selling, that's pretty passive. I agree that calling it a business, if it is going to be a decent business, there's not going to be much that's passive about it. But so far, I have designs up. I have designs that have been on Redbubble for 6 or 7 years and are still selling very regularly. So there is certainly an element of passivity about it. But yeah, if you're going to maintain it and you're going to grow it and you're going to have a solid business from this kind of thing, it isn't going to be something that you do once and forget about and never do again. So yeah. All right. We have done a lot of questions there, and we haven't even got to our first design. So let's at least see if we can get to one of these before we get drowned in questions. But one more has come in from Audrey. Thank you. Is there a concern if a buyer finds both of your sites and there's a price difference? Etsy customers getting angry that they could have gotten it cheaper. I think it's very rare when someone has purchased something to then number one, go looking for it elsewhere for cheaper, because if they've already bought it, chances are that they finish their searching for that product. Once you bought something, you don't then go, I wonder if I could get it cheaper. You just, I've bought it now, so it's done. What I have found sometimes is people searching for a design that I've promoted on Instagram or something and going and buying it on TeePublic. I've even had people kind of boasting in the comments that, I found this for $2 cheaper on TeePublic or something. Well, it was my design on TeePublic, so I still got paid. But so, everyone's a winner. So yeah, that's something I've found. People may search for it and look for it cheaper, which is a good reason for you to make sure that you have your designs up on such sites, because even if they go and search for it, they're going to find your design there, so they're going to buy your design, and so on and so forth. So hope that makes sense. All right. First design that we had sent in here was from Lance, I believe. I believe Lance is here with us. The idea was, so whether you can see this on your screen, let me make this a bit bigger. So this is not a topic I'm particularly familiar with, or at all familiar with. This is about the topic of magic mushrooms, and in particular, a substance, a chemical called psilocybin, I think it's called, something like that, psilocybin. I might get the pronunciation wrong. Lance is here. So the Lance was kind enough to explain this concept in some detail. So there is a particular chemical compound in a particular kind of magic mushroom, I guess. I've never touched a magic mushroom in my life, so I am the wrong person to talk to about it. But pronounced psilocybin or psilocybin, I think. So that's the idea. And Lance was telling me these are... there's quite an interest in this topic. Some people think that this chemical can be used to help treat depression. And obviously, there's kind of people who like taking magic mushrooms anyway. It's kind of a recreational thing, and psychedelic substances and those kind of things. So lots of people attempting to help me say this in the comments. Sounds like psilocybin. Oh, psilocybin. Psilocybin, not a k sound, but a s sound. Psilocybin. Okay, psilocybin, I've got it. Lance, a lot of work are being done in the UK at the moment. So yeah, psilocybin. So that's the chemical anyway. So interesting topic, and I think just judging from some basic searches that I did around the topic. I just did like a search on Redbubble and stuff like magic mushrooms or psilocybin, and there's very little out there. And I think that probably points to, perhaps a decent topic to tackle because there's not a lot of interesting stuff out there. There's a lot of very basic designs which might say magic mushrooms on them and have a picture of a mushroom, and obviously that's not very interesting. So Lance has got here something I would call an in-joke. If you're into magic mushrooms, then you probably know what psilocybin is. And likewise, if you don't know about magic mushrooms like me, you have no clue what psilocybin is. So that's a good indication of a good topic for a design in my eyes. If it's something that's an in-joke that only people who know about it are going to get, that means the passion levels are going to be a little bit higher. You have to be into it to get the joke. So I think that's a good indicator of, a nice concept. So Lance's concept, if you hadn't kind of deduced it, is that sounds like silicon. So Silicon Valley, psilocybin, silicon. So that's the play on words. Basically playing on the kind of silent P in the word and making a joke out of that. But also this connection that Lance highlighted, that Silicon Valley, obviously, perhaps at the forefront of some of these developments as well. So there are companies around Silicon Valley who will be interested in making money from drugs as they're interested in making money on everything in Silicon Valley. So that's the play on words. Kathleen has got it. Take a trip to Silicon Valley. So yeah, it's based on this, just this similar sound between psilocybin and silicon. So that's the joke. So I think this is a solid concept from Lance. I think he's kind of gone he's heading in the right direction that I would head in. And that's a nice idea from Kathleen, by the way. The idea I had, just to kind of crystallize it a little bit more, if I just share my iPad screen, was more like a greetings from type of thing. So I don't know how you spell this word now again. Oh, it's there on my screen. So if we're doing like silicon, so something like where you made a real like a vintage postcard thing like this, and it would be something like greetings from Silicon Valley or something like that. And then you could have, some mushrooms. Good thing about illustrating mushrooms is they're very, there's all kinds of variety of mushrooms. So you can do all kinds of ones, and you can make this look, well, you could take this design-wise in a few different directions. The idea I had in my head is more of a vintage kind of postcard thing. And I can share with you exactly what I mean over here. This kind of vibe here. So this kind of vintage, postcard with the big text, with the kind of, design through the letters, if you like, kind of a landscape or something through the letters. That's what I had in mind. So something like greetings from Silicon Valley with the P. I think that would be a nice direction to take it in. And then you could have some mushrooms around it. So that's one way. Another way I think that people have suggested is, going the kind of psychedelic route, very colorful and trying to think of other words. Psychedelic is the only thing that comes to mind. Pink Floyd-y type posters and that kind of vibe, I think would be a good place to put it as well. This, by the way, is on Creative Market. This is a vector alphabet for these letters. So you can buy this on Creative Market, and you get these vector letters that you can use to create something that looks like this. I think probably you'd need Illustrator or certainly a vector software to use it. If you want to get hold of that, actually, I'll put the link in the comments here. michaelessick.com/postcard is an affiliate link which will allow you to buy that. I think it's $18, but it's a really nice little set, which makes it easy for you to create that kind of design. Okay, let's take a few comments here before we crack on. I've seriously damaged my ability to read the comments by posting that link, but let me go back a bit. Nicholas says, it reminds me of an episode of HBO, Silicon Valley, when Elric took a bunch of mushrooms to trip. A better name than Pied Piper. Okay, cool. Code Whisperer says, is the misspelling of welcome part of the joke? I don't think so. Oh, maybe it is. I don't know. Raymond says, the definition and readability of letters both needs importance. Yes, I agree with that one. DS says they're going to phase 3 psilocybin for cancer patient therapy for PTSD. Very exciting field. So yeah, it could be an interesting topic to design around, especially if there's interest around that kind of stuff. So yeah, interesting stuff. Kathleen says like a backlight poster effect, maybe. I'm not sure what you mean by backlight poster. Okay, let's crack on here. So Lance, here's the other thing I was going to say. You going a step back on your design or on your idea. It's basically, it's a play on words, right? It's a play on psi sound and the fact that psilocybin or whatever it's called sounds like, in pronunciation, it has a P at the front, but it's pronounced S. So that led me down a different path as well in coming up with some other ideas. So let me just kind of share these with you. So obviously it's the S sound, psilocybin, however you spell the thing, is a S or C sound, like C. So this led me to some ideas. First, I started thinking about, well, could you do something around silly? And that led me to look on idioms dictionary, and I found a few ideas there. Like you could do silly season was one that came to mind. And then where's my... I had a scrap of paper with these written on. Here it is. Silly season. So I thought because this is a nice, there's a play on words, there's an in joke, and there's this silent P. You could do something like silly season with I don't know. You could do silly season with some mushrooms. However you want to do it. But a simple design like that, I think that could make sense. It's a nice double meaning. It's funny. It's catchy. It's alliteration, so it rolls off the tongue. I imagine something like that could work well. And again, you can push it with the psychedelic vibe, all the rainbowy colors and bits and bobs in the background. I think that could really work. And then the other one was playing again on this and looking for words that start with SI. I found silver, and then I thought, well, okay, what phrases or things use the word silver? And I found silver surfer. And I thought, well, that could really work because number one, you could have a mushroom on a surfboard, and this could have the kind of added so silver surfer. So this maybe has an added connotation in that, people talk about magic mushrooms to talk about going on trips or, tripping or an adventure or something like that. So I just thought that there's a decent connection there with, I'm going surfing, I'm silver surfing or something like that. So I thought that could be a decent concept as well. And it lends itself to a nice illustration that would be funny and cute. Also, so a couple of concepts there for you, Lance. Hope that helps. Lance says, yeah, it goes with the California vibe. Yeah, true. Didn't think about that. Scott says Silver Surfer is great. So yeah, a couple of ideas for you there, Lance. Hope that helps you. And yeah, let's see what else we got. Prismaju says Silver Surfer is a very psychedelic comic. I've never read it, but yes, I'm familiar with the Silver Surfer. Is it Marvel or is it DC? It's Marvel, isn't it? I don't know. But anyway, it's not going to be Silver Surfer. It's going to be Silver Surfer, which is where the joke comes in. Lance says, thanks for all the suggestions. All noted. Cool. No problem. And Swearwick says, good stuff. The image you can see on your screen is something I just wanted to show to illustrate this point of, Lance there had Silicon Valley. That was his kind of phrase or design, his idea, if you like. But that's what you see on the surface. What's beneath the surface is the joke, and that's what we identified there. It's the it's the silent P and the similar sounds. That's really what the crux of the joke was in Lance's idea. So if you can look behind the surface of ideas and designs like that, you can find that joke, and then just like we did, we take that core contrast, that thing that made it funny, the and then we can find some other ideas like Silver Surfer or Silly Season, and we can kind of, go on it at that, make it, come up with our own ideas, original ideas based on someone else's design or idea or concept or whatever. TQ says, and Amazon is flooded with mushroom pics this afternoon. Perhaps, but of course, the idea and the phrase is just one part of it. You've got to then render it in a nice design. So yeah, it's not as simple, I think, as taking a phrase and whacking it on a shirt. Although no doubt some people will try that as well. Okay, this is an idea from Caitlin. Caitlin said, I don't know whether you can see this on your screen. Caitlin said, so I was thinking about your idea of opposites and came up with, instead of carpe diem or seize the day, to release the night, maybe with some bats and a moon. But it feels like a jump. Is there a better way to connect to make the two thoughts more apparent that they are opposites? Perhaps the moon and bats isn't the good way to go about it. Maybe I need carpe diem crossed out. So here we've got this idea from Caitlin. And the idea is she's used the opposites method. Now, if you're not familiar with the opposites method, I think you can find it on my blog. Basically, the idea of the opposites method is you take a well-known phrase or you take a word, you find the opposite of it, and then you find a phrase that includes that word. So, for example, something like follow your dreams, you change that to follow your nightmares. There's an obvious, inversion of the word. And because people are familiar with the phrase follow your dreams, when you put nightmares in there, you create a contrast, you create a joke, and that can be used for a design. So I don't know whether you've spotted in Caitlin's approach, she's not actually kind of followed the opposites method. She's saying seize the day and flipping it to release the night. And that's not the approach I recommend, because basically she's flipped every word in the phrase from seize the day to release the night. Now, that's not technically an opposites method approach. An opposites method approach would be seize the day into release the day, or seize the day into seize the night. You'd invert one of the words and not multiple words in a phrase. Because if you do that, you create a new phrase that's not as recognizable, and people need to understand the pattern and the interruption to the pattern. They need to recognize that phrase in order for the joke to work. So Does Caitlin have something here? I think you could take seize the day and turn it into seize the night, and that would work. And I think it has been used as as a book title and maybe a song by Meatloaf. I think when I looked it up before, but that's not to say you can't use it as the basis of a design. And the idea that came to mind is this one, just something like this. So you could take a phrase like "seize the night" and kind of what Caitlin was going at, illustrate it with some Halloweeny graphics, some spooky stuff, some bats and a moon and things. I think that would work. I think that would have an appeal in a number of different ways. It's a good kind of general Halloween phrase that could work well. You could imagine seeing that around Halloween. If you were in Target and you were looking at Halloween T-shirts or Halloween whatever notepads and not handbags, but like purses or wallets or things, just like a phrase that would work in that sense. So I think it's got licensing potential. I think you could see it as part of there's a number of kind of gothic horror brands out there, and I think they would be interested in a phrase like that. I could see that phrase, working. And something like this where you take the phrase, you just illustrate it well, you pair it with some simple graphics. So you don't do a central illustration, if that makes sense. You make the design about the phrase and you draw attention just to the phrase, and then you just support it with some supporting graphics. And I think that's a solid idea. A couple of comments. Let's get to some of these. Audrey says, the nightmare ideas is actually in my sketchbook. My suggestion is to put both together, make the message clearer, in my opinion. Sheila says, how about release the night in Latin? I won't attempt to say that in Latin, but yeah, you could do release. I think release the night, it just doesn't make that much sense. Someone might be able to deduce it and find some humor in it, but yeah. Stephen says, Carpe diem, an awesome goldfish living its best life. Yeah, sounds good. DS, she could do both together, like a yin-yang style. Could do. Lance says, maybe a play on cease, as in cease the night, with Dracula. I'm not really understanding what's the cease bit about, apart from that it sounds similar to seize. Does it have any connection to Dracula? Or waste the day. Yeah. That's a good approach of an opposite. You take the meaning and then you invert it. So instead of seize the day, waste the day, or release the day, or forget the day, or whatever it might be, something like that. So yeah, some good ideas and approaches there. Let me just see. So yeah, if I can I'll just kind of quickly illustrate what I had in my head for Caitlin's idea and approach. So yeah, seize the night. How do you spell seize? So yeah, something like, you keep the text really big. And you're going to use, I think, some kind of gothic-y font. You want to make it readable, which is why I highlighted the what's it called? Laugh, lurk, love, or whatever it was. Loathe, laugh, lurk, loathe, or whatever, because that's a good example of taking a phrase, making it look nice and attractive. So it's a design you want to wear, but it's still readable. I don't have to pay too close attention. I don't need to, take a second look to understand the text. So yeah, you could do something like seize the night with, some bats around here and a, nice moon icon with a couple of stars or something. How exactly you do it is up to you, but I'm sure you get the general gist. Black t-shirt, white text, white graphics, something like, very much kind of inspired by or following the general vibe from the lurk, laugh, loathe approach. I think would really work for that one. Okay. Right. Where do we go from here? Questions, comments. Let's see. David said, seize the bite. Yeah, except people won't understand that reference because that's a replacement pun on the idea we just came up with. So people wouldn't get it. But yeah, I like it still. Stephen says, thanks, I'm on mushrooms now. Really good for creative thinking. Okay. Good for you, Stephen. Scott, maybe some of this makes sense when you're on mushrooms. I don't know. Scott says, indeed, sheesh the day, Prima stew. Yes, that's a nice one. It's always nice to get in what's the word? A colloquialism or a word that doesn't, isn't technically a word or something. If you can get a sound in, that's nice. So sheesh the day, or seek. What's the word I'm looking for? Like a shish kebab. Could be a kebab design. Sheesh the day. That could work as well. See how we're sparking ideas left and right, all over the place. Okay, let me just go through a couple of. I should say as well. Obviously, a lot of people sent designs, and I've not been able to get to all of them or even close. There's really only those two that I picked that I thought would be some good examples. And I would say as well that a lot of the designs that are sent in, the reason I don't pick them is because there's not a lot for me to go at. There was no hook maybe in your design. There was no clear joke. There was no obvious concept. So if you've sent designs in for a design review or for this session and I've not picked it, it's probably for that reason. If I can identify a hook in your design, whether that's a joke or a message or something, that makes it interesting or sets it apart, then I feel I can help you improve it. But if you just send something that looks, very generic or pretty standard, it's very hard for me to guess, how do we turn this into a design that's going to sell? If you've got an idea, kind of like what Caitlin and Lance have had, those are very good examples of, there's a spark there, there's something there. How can we improve on it? How can we, improve the hook that already exists? And so if you have sent something that's not been picked, that's probably the reason why. Scott says squeeze the day. That works. Audrey or farmers seize the hay. See, rhyme and replace, baby. Rhyme and replace all the way. Ride it all the way to the bank. Okay, a couple more designs I just wanted to comment on. So these designs do have a hook, I would say. They have something about them. So this first one here, sorry, I'm not sure who sent this in, but it says humans also grow in a well-tended garden. And we can see, obviously, it's kind of a gardening design, gardening phrase. What can we say about this one? I think for me, the phrase itself is a bit cumbersome. Humans also grow. It's kind of, it doesn't flow off the tongue. It's not, you have to do a little bit of kind of thinking to understand the phrase. And my recommendation for something like that would be, could you, a little bit like the, this illustration, that's your phrase or your design. What's the joke or what's the hook? And I think there is one. The hook is this double meaning of the word grow, right? Grow means we use it to refer to plants that grow, physically grow, but humans grow, but humans grow physically as well. But the other meaning of growth is, grow as in grow as a person, or grow your experiences, or grow into a better human being, or something like that. So I think there's probably, a lot of opportunity there in that distinction, and that play on words between grow, meaning growing plant, and grow as in growing as a person, or grow up, or things like that. There's all kinds of double meanings and puns that you could use there, which could probably be a much more simple design and approach. If you can do you could just take you could do something like grow up and just do a nice plant illustration. There's not a lot of, it's not complicated like this phrase, wouldn't require a lot of thought. And I would kind of go down that route. Row back, don't be tied to a concept. Row back and look under the surface, look under the tip of the iceberg. Identify that joke. What's actually, what is the hook? What is the hinge that the design swings on? And see what you can come up with off the back of that. So that would be my advice on that one. Peck ahead. I think this is funny. I could see this could appeal to chicken people. That is people who keep chickens, not people who are half chicken, half human or whatever, like half man, half dog in Spaceballs, where John Candy is his own best friend. Peck ahead, I think it works. I think it just needs a more thoughtful design that fits with a organic-y, outdoorsy, farmery feel. More of an illustrative look rather than a flat vector look. Simplify the colors. Maybe you do it on a green t-shirt or something like that. But yeah, I would just go for like a more organic look, and similar with the fonts. Pick a font that looks kind of worn and outdoorsy and farmery like. Hopefully you kind of get what I'm saying. I don't have any examples to show you, but hopefully that makes sense. And then there was this one, Oh Crab, Time for Bed. And I think, when I thought about this one, this is one of those funny ideas where the joke is actually kind of detached from the design, which is the joke is oh crap versus oh crab, right? And then you've just made the crab go to sleep, and then it's become a bed design. I think the person who sent this in said this was kind of targeted at kids, kind of like a kid's pajama design or something like that. I think for this one, I think there's actually even more better, stronger concepts putting those two things together. If you wanted to do, let's say you were commissioned to do crab designs for kids' pajamas. Let's say Target or Walmart came to you and they said, hey, we want you to come up with some concepts and come up with some designs for kids' pajamas, but they have to be about crabs. Strange though it might be, but that's the kind of thing that people get commissioned for. So because your design, oh crab, time for bed, the joke is just oh crab versus oh crap. That's the joke. The time for bed bit has no connection to, sorry, let me move this down a bit, has no connection to the actual design. You've just tagged on something about bed and drawn something that makes it relevant to that. So stepping aside the fact that maybe, is the use of the word crap or the play on the word crap totally appropriate for kids' designs? Don't know. I'd probably stay away from that for that reason. But I think there's some opportunities here that you could do. So, for example, crab, some words that come to mind with crabs. One of the obvious ones, or the one that popped into my head, is snap. And what do we have inside the word snap? This word nap. So, okay, surely there's some stuff we could do here. That could lead you to thoughts like, or phrases like snapping and napping was one that came to mind. And this is just, really simple rhyming stuff. Snap rhymes with nap. How can we use the two in a slogan or a phrase to come up with some ideas? Well, snapping and napping, or, you could do less snapping, more napping. I'm sure you guys are going to come up with some as well in the comments, because you always do, usually better than mine, but these were just something, came off the top of my head. Or you could go, snap time instead of nap time. Or I just need a snap. I don't know. Snap for a nap. There's got to be loads of stuff you could come up with off that kind of approach. So those were some of my thoughts around the crab design. How are we doing for time? Okay, we got about 5 minutes. So if you have questions, comments, something you want to ask about, go ahead and pop those in the comments right now. We will start wrapping it up here in a few minutes. And let me take some comments here. So, doobity-doobity-doobity-doo. Where were we up to? Sigh the day, says Stephen. Putting the two things together. Nice one. Bo says, this entire live session has been very helpful and fun. I know it's not over. Yeah, it's not over yet, Bo. We still got a few minutes to go. Scott says, these are worth it for sure. Cool. Seize the day. Yeah, Stephen, that's a great, whenever you've got silent letters, there is this great opportunity to just look for a phrase or a word that starts with that has the same sound without the silent letter, and then you tag the silent letter on. So you see this sometimes with like llama designs, like there's I think a really simple one which is just like lol but with two L's at the start, with a llama. So anytime you've got silent letters, that's a great approach. I think that's a method I need to kind of step by step do, but that's a really good example of that. Seize the day could work. Audrey says crabby, crabhead crower. And Scott said, yeah, he thought about crabby too. Sorry, I just missed this one from Raymond earlier where he said Silver Surfer with the P on both ones. Yeah, like again, you can do that as long as it's going to be obvious what the design is or the joke is. I think that there can be a tendency with the silent word or silent letter thing to overdo it, and then what you've got to do is get that pattern there so that you can interrupt it. And if you interrupt too much, then people don't get the pattern, and therefore, if you don't get the pattern, it can't be interrupted, so you can't get the joke. So you've got to have both. So I would say, that's probably overdoing it a bit in that example, Raymond. Personally, I would use the silent P on the first one, for silver, and then surfer, I would just write surfer with no silent letters. Okay. Sheila said, would a retro postcard design like the ones in the alphabet font print well on a T-shirt? So yeah, let me pull up that example again. So not this design, not with the background. Of course, a T-shirt you wouldn't have the background like you have here, but you would of course take just the letters. So blow out the background. You wouldn't have the background in, and use that just the text. Yes, that would work well on a T-shirt, but you would not have the background image in like that. You would, in the example we were talking about earlier, you would draw in some mushrooms and stuff, and that would be the approach I'd recommend. Grey Elephant Club says, how to start designing question in beginning. Watch Michael video channel and buy a couple of his books. Highly recommend them. Thank you, Grey Elephant Club. That is, that's the answer. Of course it is. Buy my stuff is the answer to all your beginner questions. But seriously though, you don't have to. You should buy my stuff as well. But you can get a lot of stuff for free. For example, as you can see on your screen, if you sign up and join my free weekly newsletter, you will get instant access to my 5 ways to improve your t-shirt ideas ebook, my fonts for t-shirts resource pack, the idea files ebook, data on the best print-on-demand sites, and even more resources, which I can't list out. So if you're not already on my email newsletter, completely free, I email tips and tricks and latest news and stuff every week. So sign up at michaelessig.com/live. Andrew says, are these templates for Photoshop? The Wanderer Vector Art tablet, which you can see on your screen, which you can get to by going to michaelessig.com/postcard, by the way, affiliate link in there. They are vectors. I believe they are, let me just check here. Adobe Illustrator. So they're vector files. So you'll be able to open them in Adobe Illustrator, or you'll probably be able to open them in Affinity Designer as well, because they're vector. So yeah, they're vector. So of course you could open vectors in Photoshop as well, but they are not Photoshop files by default, if that makes sense. Sheila says, we have a tagline, enjoy the outdoors indoors with podcasts, and a postcard design came to mind. Yeah, anytime you're doing something like based around locations or outdoors, then something like that can definitely work. And Tomatori says, all these t-shirt ideas work well on journal covers. Tested. Cool. Yeah, I'm sure they would. Absolutely. One other thing I mentioned previously about art licensing. If you are interested in art licensing and in getting your art into stores, into physical stores, into brick and mortar stores and things like that, someone who knows a lot about it is Stacey Bloomfield. And she has a free course starting in a couple of weeks' time called Creative Powerhouse. So if you want to sign up for that, I'll be going through it myself. You can sign up michaelessig.com/Stacey. I think this is an email course that she's put together, and Stacey has got her designs in various retail stores, hundreds of stores, and she's been doing it for many years. So I'm excited to learn from Stacey what she's got in this course. If you're interested as well, michaelessick.com/Stacey is the link if you want to go and sign up. I believe it starts in a couple of weeks' time. But if you don't already know Stacey, she's definitely someone to look up and learn from, especially around art licensing. She does a lot of pattern design stuff, so for fabrics and things like that. But I think there's a lot of crossover, and there's going to be a lot of things that I'm looking forward to hearing from Stacey, how she got her designs in stores and things like that. So if you're interested in that, michaelessick.com/Stacey. That is an affiliate link. So if you do end up buying anything from Stacey, I will get a cut of it as well. Audrey says, extremely interested in licensing, still learning how to balance POD design to the public versus keeping things secret for licensing. Yes, that can be a tricky one. Licensing can get complicated pretty quickly because you are you're usually saying, you have the rights to this design in these particular situations or in these particular things. Not always, there can be non-exclusive licensing deals, and that's what I do a lot of. But yeah, in certain circumstances, you might be licensing stuff in certain places and not in others. So keeping track of it can get complicated. So yeah, I'm excited to hear from Stacey because I've basically had one route into brick and mortar stores, and that is through a licensing agent, and it's through threadless.com. I've never approached stores directly. I've never pitched my work to a store. I've always got my work in stores via someone like an art licensing agent who works on my behalf, or through threadless.com is the only other route. So Stephen says, Michael, for bricks and mortar, do you supply DTG products or screen printed ones? I don't supply anything, Stephen. Art licensing with brick and mortar is a very similar concept to art licensing to Redbubble or to Merch by Amazon. When you're uploading a design to Redbubble or Merch by Amazon, you are licensing your art. We don't typically call it that, but that's exactly what you're doing. You're licensing your art to them. They're allowed, you're giving them the right to sell it as long as you get a cut of the sales. And that's the same principle, exactly the same principle when you're selling or you're licensing designs to brick and mortar. So it's the same model. I don't physically I don't sell them t-shirts. I give the rights to a manufacturer or to a store or to a brand to use my designs and to produce goods with my designs on them. And then I get a cut of the sales. So I'm not actually, I'm not screen printing. I'm not manually ordering bulk orders of stuff. So yeah, hope that makes sense. Steven says, got it. But do you know if it is DTG or not? Oh, in the stores? I would assume usually it's going to be screen printed because that would be more economical at scale, especially if you're stocking, hundreds of hot topics or something. It's going to make sense to do that in screen printing typically. However, DTG printing these days is becoming much better quality and much more efficient and much more cost efficient as well. So could be DTG in certain cases as well. But yeah, I think usually it would be screen printed. Off the back of that, another thought, you can, if you wanted to wholesale stuff to a physical store, you could do that, of course, that even using DTG and stuff, you could quite easily, that's another channel that I've never really done it, but that's another channel that could be done by an artist. You could supply product, actual finished screen printed or DTG product to a brick and mortar store. All you need to do is, they give you an order and then you just go and place the order. You don't have to pre-order and have a load of stock sitting in a warehouse. You can, work as a wholesaler and do stuff on demand. So that's an interesting approach as well. It's not something I've played around with myself, but there are websites that are wholesale based. I think Fair is one of them. I think Shopify has one that they set up as well. So there are routes to not just art licensing, but actually, selling physical products to stores. And you could do that using DTG. So just another idea out there, another channel that you might want to look at. michaelessick.com/Stacy if you want to learn more about art licensing with Stacy Bloomfield's Creative Powerhouse course, which is starting in a couple of weeks. You can sign up there. And and of course, don't forget to sign up at michaelessick.com/live to get all this free stuff as well. All right. Any last minute questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments, and we will wrap it up pretty shortly here. Hope you enjoyed the session today. Hope you got something out of it. Feel like we got through quite a lot of questions. And even though we didn't cover so many designs, but we got through a lot of questions and stuff. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well. If you're watching the video on YouTube or on Facebook, give it a thumbs up. Like and subscribe. That would be wonderful. Okay, Ray says, thanks, Michael. And I don't see any last minute questions, I don't think. Nope, looks like we're all good. Okay. So let's sign off there. michaelessick.com/live. If you want to join my mailing list, michaelessick.com/Stacy. If you want to join me on the Creative Powerhouse mini course, that would be great. Ray says, thanks, Michael. Stan says, thanks. David says, thanks. Jennifer, awesome session. Lots of great info. Thanks. Scott says, thanks. Sheila says, thanks. Bo says, thanks. All right. Thank you, guys. I will leave it there for today. So have a great rest of your Thursday. Have a good weekend. And I'll be in your inboxes tomorrow with a few updates and roundup of stuff that's happened this week. And until then, I'll talk to you soon. All right. Thank you, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.